live. Let's roll. I love that ending. All right. Well, Kufar, Akbar, everybody, we appreciate you coming to today's edition of the Crescent discussion group. We are here every Sunday afternoon from 4 o'clock to about 6 o'clock, about 2 hours every Sunday afternoon, Central Standard Time. And we discuss all kinds of topics that deal with Islam and Christianity. This week, we're going to be focusing on Qurantradictions, contradictions that we find in the Quran. We'll be getting that to here shortly. I apologize for missing last week. We had, I went to Florida. Sorry, but we went down there. Oh, I see Paul's in the chat. Got a cold. All right. Well, sorry to hear that, Paul. I hope you're feeling better soon. And Dominic is in the chat, and his internet is unstable. And Chloe made it. Well, thank you for coming, Chloe. We appreciate you seeing here. Okay, so before we get to the Qurantradictions part, we're only, I forgot to tell you, okay, so I missed last week, and this week we're only going to be here for about an hour and a half. I got to cut out of here at 5:30. Today's just been one big race. I had to teach Sunday school first thing in the morning. Then we have a church business meeting where we elected a pastor today because we've been without a pastor for a couple months, and but we did find one, and this guy is absolutely fabulous. I'm so happy to see that he's going to be coming on board. And then my grandson had a birthday party, so we ran out to his birthday party, and then I'm like, we got to leave. I got to get back to the house. We got to do the show. Then we're going to do the show, and then once I get done with the show at 5:30, I got to go teach 5 classes at Vacation Bible School. So it's been going to be a very full day, and I'm going to be ready to hit the feathers as soon as we get out of the Vacation Bible School tonight. I know that for a fact. All right, so let's go ahead, and I'm going to turn this over to Rad. And I know a lot of people thinking, you're turning your show over to Rad. Isn't that kind of dangerous? It is dangerous on occasion, but Rad is a very discerning man. So he wanted to say a couple things before we got going. So, Mr. Rad, are you there? Radical Moderate, are you there? Hello.
I am here. I just wanted to address some things regarding the interaction that our friend Charlie had with Avery. If you could pull up the clip, please, because he made some accusations against us. Okay? And this is what I wanted to get to. And he keeps coming up, and he's going to make another video about us, I guess, in a few days, supposedly, someone told me. But if you can pull up that clip and go ahead and play that clip, because I think it pretty much sums it up here.
All right. How do I do this? Here we go. Tell me if you can hear it.
So this video and all the videos I do are not made for you.
Can you hear that?
Yeah, we can hear it. Go ahead. Turn up a little bit if you can.
Yeah, here we go. All right.
So this video and all the videos I do are not made for children because a lot of the Christians that I will be showing on here have a tendency to use foul language and sexual innuendo. And
a few moments later,
Who the fuck did you just call me?
Charlie.
I'm not your buddy.
Oh, that's okay. You are my buddy.
No.
Yeah, I love you.
You'll respect, or I'll call you Avery Pussy.
Why? Because isn't that your name, bro?
You're a punk. You're a punk. That's
Isn't
why.
that your name?
Come on.
You want to get stupid with me?
You already got stupid. I can't even get any stupider than that, man.
Yeah.
I don't think we can't get any.
Yeah, we'll see.
stupider than
We'll see what happens when I meet you.
So pretty much the only time when any foul language is used on this show is when we talk about Charlie, evidently, or bring up Charlie. But Charlie, he demands respect. Do you notice that? You will respect me. But the question is, why, Charlie? Why would anybody respect Charlie? I wonder if Charlie if he respected cops that roughed up a handcuffed juvenile and then had a trainee officer destroy the evidence. I wonder if that's the type of cop that Charlie looked up to as a rookie officer. Or what about a cop who brags about how he beat up an amputee so bad that his prosthetic leg was ripped off? Anybody else have this feeling about Charlie when he was a cop? He put on his uniform and he'd look in the mirror, pull his gun out, and reenact dialogue from Dirty Harry. Make my day, punk. Do you feel lucky? When he was out there riding the mean streets, getting rid of those punks out there in wherever land he was in Georgia. What about this? Do you guys respect anyone who changes his religion or sects of a specific religion on the internet multiple times in a year? Is that someone you respect or even should respect? Or does that sound like an unstable individual? Let's not forget what Charlie did to our friend Eric here, and what he keeps threatening to do to myself and others. What he did, I'm sorry, it was just disgusting. He was a follower of Marshall, or Kenny and Marshall. Followed their example by posting pictures and contact numbers. Just to review, he posted pictures and contact number of what he thought at the time was Eric's boss, making the threatened ultimatum that Eric must stop doing his show or he would be fired. He can't do one or the other. Remember he said that over and over again?
Mm-hmm.
Eric, did you have any? I had no idea who this dude was until he did it. Do you have any idea who he was? I mean, he just walked out of nowhere.
No.
Yeah, no idea. I had no idea who he was. And he admitted, then he admits us, remember, that he would have no idea who we were unless it was for Kenny, the one that gave him his shahada on the internet. Now, the reason that he gives that why he did this is Eric, is that, the reason why he did this, if you remember, wasn't it, Eric, that you outed or pretty much confronted on Kenny being a Hamas supporter and bragging about how he'd like to kill Jews or something like that?
That's what started it. When Kenny, he did that show, and I don't know, I was in the chat and I just typed in, I noticed how the Imam does not condemn terrorism. And it was, and that just, that one comment, it set this whole thing. I wasn't even on the show. I just typed it into the chat of the show. And that's what set this whole thing in motion. When I said that Kenny, we went back and we replayed those clips that he was saying that. He says, I'm not going to condemn Hamas. These guys are they're defending their homeland by firing rockets indiscriminately into Israel. That's defending your homeland.
Yep.
Terrorizing an entire country.
So Charlie does all this because he's defending Kenny, who's defending Hamas, the terrorist organization. Brilliant. Is that someone that should be looked up to? I think not. And then, of course, he calls the great fitna on Ken's network. That was the funniest thing. And then left Islam because someone said that Turks butchered the Arabic language by adding an E to the end of words. Yeah, that's right. It was all over an E on that one, literally over the letter E. And, dude, we forgot about him, right, for like a year, right? And then out of the blue, he resurfaced and started attacking our brother Danny Davis. Right? Is that pretty much accurate? Threatening to dox him, demanding that he hand over his client customer list so that Charles could contact him and tell him what a racist and Islamophobe Danny Davis was. Because they had a right to know somehow. But remember, the reason why he did this to you is because you were a teacher. But Danny Davis isn't a teacher. He's a private business owner. What does that have to do with that? Oh, and of course, because the reason why is Danny Davis put in his profile picture on Clubhouse a very funny picture of an Arab camel herder with his head between the hind legs of a female camel. It's a very funny picture. No matter what context you put it in, it's funny. But that just set off Charles on the war rampage because all of a sudden, oh my God, Danny Davis is gonna get Muslim children killed. And when he says it, he's so passionate about it, he's breaking out in tears. You know, wait, let me know. You're gonna get Muslim children killed. Was that a good one? I gotta work on it. I don't know.
I'll give you a 6.2 on a scale of 10.
6.2. All right.
Now,
All right.
I will say something else. This thought process that he has, that anytime that you criticize Islam, Muhammad, or even some of the practices of Muslims, and we've several times on this show, we've discussed the number of terrorist attacks. It's up to 43,000, I believe it is, since September 11th, 2001. Every time you do that, what you're doing is you're placing in danger innocent Muslim children. And this is the same type of thought process or defense that we hear today with the trans movement or the transvestite movement, saying, look, unless you affirm the transgendering of transvestites, what you're doing is you're placing their lives in danger because you'll make them suicidal unless you affirm their gender dysphoria. It's the same thing, and this is the thought process that he follows, or maybe even the trans community is following what Charles does. Is this thought process? Unless you completely agree with me, I'm going to ruin your flipping life.
That's what it is. No.
Yeah,
it's the social justice warrior, the concept victim. But anyway, we're running out of time here. I want to re-vote this because we got okay. But anyway, so then after that happens, we defend our brother Danny Davis on the show, completely mock him, and then that set off Charles again. Anyway, Charles actually did what he actually threatened to do, and what Kenny and Marshall have been threatening to do. He found out Eric's real name, his wife's name, kids' name, grandchildren's name, where he went to church, where he worked, the name of his bosses, etc. Now, either Charles did this directly or he had someone else do this. But, Eric, didn't you get threatening emails with pictures of your grandkids, your kids, and your wife and stuff sent to your email with threatening notes saying we know who they are and stuff like that? We're coming for them. Mm-hmm. Right? Yeah. Charles did this. Whether he deliberately did it or not, he still gave the information to somebody else who did it. Either way, disgusting. Let's see here. And didn't we comply with his demands? We took down the channel. You stopped doing the show. We were in the process of transferring over to me. Did that stop him? No. Now let this be a lesson to everyone, and we should have known this lesson. Never give in to the demands of a bully, because they will just do what they said they were going to do anyway. He goes on then, after we took down the channel, he goes on to make videos publishing Eric's information, the school where he works, the town of where the school is, the county of where the school is, pictures and contact, the phone numbers,
right? Yeah,
pictures and contact numbers of the people who never did him any harm, who had no contact with him before this. People who he knows nothing about. Now that takes an extra special kind of lunatic to think that this would make people sympathetic to your cause. I mean, think about this, people. Let's say I'm working with a total great guy like Eric, and I'm his boss. All of a sudden, I get emails and calls saying Eric's not what he is, and I'm like, they're just a lunatic. I'm not going to listen to you. And then he goes on to publish pictures of me and my phone number on the internet, telling other people to call me and harass me. Do you honestly think that's going to make me sympathize to your cause, Charlie? No. That's going to make me think you're even more of a lunatic. Seriously, extra special kind of stupid on that one. Anyway, they basically realized, Charlie, in case you haven't figured it out yet, they figured out that you are a lunatic and you should be avoided. Okay? After they stopped, so they stopped returning his calls, his emails, etc. He makes videos about them, calling them white Christian nationalists. Mm-hmm. I made several of those videos. Oh, I know she's a white Christian nationalist. They have to be. Because Eric, whatever. all this other crap. I mean, seriously, insulting and slandering people that he does not even know. Yeah, that's going to make them listen to me. That's going to make them do what I want them to do. That's going to make me think that they're not a lunatic. I think not.
Well, that was my school administrator, my principal, and she's one of
Right.
the sweetest people on the planet. And he called her a white Christian nationalist. And if there's
And a few other slurs too.
well, but to put her into that type, and this is what they do. They throw you into this category. They broad brush you. You have to be, if you don't agree with me, you have to be a racist. You have to be a bigot. You have to be whatever type of phobe, homophobe, Islamophobe, transphobe, whatever the phobe is, you have to be that if you don't completely agree with me. And anybody with any sense can see it. Can we get to the show? Can we go?
Real quick here, let me just finish up. Charlie also threatened to commit suicide and go out with a bang numerous times. Charlie, real quickly, is this someone you would respect? Would you respect a police officer or a police officer like this, or would you approach them with caution and prejudice? Let's not forget you slander me. Well, we won't get into this. Anyway, is this someone you would respect?
You're a pedophile. Or not a pedophile.
Yeah, he accused me of being a follower of Muhammad. Yeah, he accused me of being a follower of the Sunnah of Muhammad. Anyway, is this someone you would respect? The truth is, Charlie, no one respects you because you do nothing to deserve respect. You lash out at anyone for light and transient reasons. You dox and threaten people and endanger people's lives who have nothing to do with you. You bounce from religion to religion, sect to sect. You threaten to commit suicide in mass casualty event. You are easily angered by rage. You are easily angered and with rage. You are unstable mentally and emotionally. Does this sound like a person that should be respected? There are many words that come to mind when people think of you, and respect is never one of them. Truth is, Charlie, and I mean this, you need psychological and medical treatment, and you need to repent and come to Christ. Until then, you will continue to do the things that does not garner respect by anyone, only pity and loathing, and due to the threats of suicide, even fear. And that, ladies and gentlemen, is a radical rant, and I hope the last time I will ever mention Charlie's name again. I hand it over to you, Eric.
All right. Well, I appreciate that, Rad. Okay, so now that we've gotten that out of our system, so what we're doing today is we're going to be looking at the contradictions of the Quran, and this idea was kind of a fallout from what here again, where we had Avery and we did a post debate review of his debate with Charles, but we really didn't focus on the contradictions themselves, that the one contradiction that they discussed. So what I wanted to do is I just wanted to kind of dedicate an entire show to the number of contradictions that that are in the Quran. Now, remember, the Quran says, if this book be not true, then you will find in it much contradiction. Let me see here. I think I did put that. No, I did not. I did not put that verse in here, which I thought I was going to, but I didn't. Okay, so let's go ahead and get started with the one that they discussed between Avery and Charlie in their debate. And Avery's charge was, can one bear another's burden? Because in the Quran, it says, no, they can't. If you go to 61:164, it says, no bearer of burdens can bear the burden of another. So you cannot bear a burden of somebody else. It also says it in 35:18, nor can a bearer of burdens bear another's burdens if one heavily laden should call another to bear his load. You can't do that. And then Quran 17:15 says, and no bearer of burdens will bear the burden of another. Now notice this does not qualify the sacrificial atonement or the substitutionary atonement of Jesus Christ, because it says very clearly, no bearer of burdens, no bearer of burdens, no bearer of burdens can bear that. Did Christ himself bear any burdens? No, Christ lived a perfectly sinless life. But the problem does not end there for Muhammad. If you continue to read in the Quran, you will notice that in 16:25 it says, Let them bear on the judgment day their own burdens in full, and notice the word and also of the burdens of those without knowledge whom they misled. So notice you can bear the burdens of those without knowledge that you misled. You can bear their burdens. But wait a second, didn't it just say 3 times before that you can't bear the burdens? But then you go down to 29:13, it says they will bear their own burdens, and notice the word and there, other burdens along with their own. So you have a clear contradiction. This is what Avery was pointing out. You say in one verse, the Quran says that you cannot bear the burdens of another. Somebody who has burdens themselves, sins themselves, cannot bear the sins, the burdens of somebody else. But in 2 other verses in the Quran, it says that you can bear the burdens of those whom you misled. And then 29:13 says, and along with those that are, they will bear their own burdens and burdens along with their own, other burdens along with their own. So you can bear the burdens of others. So you have a clear contradiction here in the Quran. All right, so that was the first one. This is one that I like. And this one was, you all know who Bob the Builder is. He was, what do we got here, Dominic? What are you saying here? Sorry. Let's see. There is Dan Brubaker's book that deal with the contradictions in the manuscripts. Okay. Well, I have his book somewhere back here, but I didn't use that as a source material. Sorry. Maybe I should have brought that up for this week. Okay. So this one, Bob the Builder, who was on the show a couple months ago, discussed in, excuse me, he discussed this in at Speaker's Corner, Hyde Park in London one weekend, and so I went in and looked this one up, and this one is pretty acute. Let's look at it. Okay, Quran 7 or chapter 7 verse 109. It says, "Said the eminent among the people of Pharaoh, indeed, this is a learned magician who wants to expel you from their land through magic. So what do you do? What do you instruct?" They said, "Postpone the matter of him and his brother and send among them." Okay, so you notice it says, "Said the eminent people among the people of Pharaoh." Okay, so that's important. Here's the contradiction. Now you go to chapter 26, verse 34. It says, "Pharaoh said to the eminent ones." So up here it says, "The eminent ones of the people said," of Pharaoh, and here you have Pharaoh saying to the eminent ones around him, and it's basically the same thing here as it is up here. So here you have a clear contradiction. You have when one, the Pharaoh is saying it, and if you go in and you look at the context, it doesn't specifically, I know Pharaoh is in brackets, and anytime that's brackets, it does not say that in the Arabic, and this is true, but this is the implication of the context of the verse, because Pharaoh appears earlier in the verse. So you have Pharaoh saying to Pharaoh saying to the eminent ones, the important, those magicians around him and advisors around him, and then in the other one you have those advisors around him saying to Pharaoh. So Pharaoh said to the eminent ones, and said the eminent ones among the people of Pharaoh. So the eminent ones are talking here, but no, Pharaoh is talking here. So which one is it? We don't know. Why? Well, because it's a contradiction. Okay, let's go to this next one. Oh, this is my favorite one. This, when we start looking at Muhammad's idea or ideal hell, what's hell going to be like? Well, hell also consists of eating food or having some type of sustenance to preserve yourself while you're in hell. So if you look in the Quran, you go to Quran 86:6, it says, "No food will be for them, but," this is but, the only thing but, "the bitter dari," which is a poisonous plant. So this is the key thing. This is the key to focus in on. It's very exclusive about what they're going to eat. The only food will be for them is this poisonous plant. No food will be for them, meaning that they don't get to eat anything. No food, they don't get anything except for the bitter dari, which is a poisonous plant. That's the only thing they eat in hell. But watch this. If you go to verse 6 or chapter 69, verse 36, it says, "Nor hath he any food except the corruption from the washing of wounds, meaning pus. So, nor hath he any food, excluding any other food, except, it excludes everything else except what? The pus that you're going to eat from wounds. So notice, in one verse, it says the only thing you're going to eat is this poisonous plant. But in another verse, the other verse, it says, no, you are only going to eat the pus from wounds to preserve yourself. But it gets better. Watch this one. Watch this one. It says, in paradise, is paradise a better accommodation, or the tree of Zakum? Indeed, we have made it a torment for the wrongdoers. Okay, so notice this tree is a torment for people in hell. It is a tree issuing from the bottom of the hellfire, its emerging fruit as if it was heads of the devils. And indeed, they will eat fruit from it and fill with it their bellies. Okay, so notice you have the only thing you're going to eat up here is this poisonous plant. The only thing you're going to eat here is the pus from wounds, but at the same time, you're going to be eating from the tree of the Zakum. So which one is it? Is it the Dari, the poisonous plant? Is it the pus from wounds? Or are we just going to be eating from the people in hell are going to be eating from the Zakum tree? Am I making any sense here to anybody? Or am I just talking to the ceiling here?
You're making me hungry with eating pus and all that good stuff.
Right. Yeah, that's that one. I mean, that if there's there are several clear contradictions in the Quran, but that
I was going to just say that sounds a lot more appetizing than eating the lobes of fish livers.
That you eat in heaven, right? Yeah, eating fish liver in heaven. Only in heaven can fish liver taste good. That's the only place that you could possibly work out. What is this? Maybe Muhammad was on I Am a Celebrity was on. Is that like a TV show or something? Dominic in England. And Rob K's here. Thank you for coming, Rob. We appreciate you. Okay, this next one. What was man created from? Does anybody know the several things that man has been created from according to the Quran? Just off the top of your head.
I'm going to go with a clot of blood for 500, Eric.
Okay, well, let's take a look and see if a clot of blood is one of those things that man is made from. So, but Bing, look at you, Rad. Right out of the gate, Quran chapter 96 verse 2 says, God created man out of a mere clot of congealed blood. In other words, a blood clot. Very good. However, being created out of a blood clot, it also says we shaped man from sounding clay, from mud molded into shape. Now, is there any ontological difference between a blood clot and what is this, sounding clay? I mean, what is sounding clay to begin with? Does anybody know what that is? I mean, what is that? Anybody? Sounding clay, is that a type of clay? Is that something, is it, congealed blood mixed with dirt? Is that what that is? Because I have no idea.
Come on, Eric. It's clay that makes sounds. That's why it's called sounding clay.
If we just sit there and beat on it long enough, yeah, it's going to make all kinds of sounds. Or if you squeeze it hard enough, it makes a lot of sound. Yeah. Anyway, what's the next one? The next one is the similitude of Jesus before Allah is that of Adam. He created him from dust. Okay, so you have him from dust, from clay, from congealed blood. And then you have down here in, what is this, chapter 19, verse 67, and also in 52:35, he creates man out of nothing. Now, you have nothing, dust, sounding clay, which you could say sounding clay if you get it, or dust, if you get it wet, it can become sounding clay, okay, but it's never going to become congealed blood or nothing. That doesn't work. And then there's one last one. He has created man from a sperm drop. Now, we all know from a certain imam that you can be a sperm for, was it 40 days or 40 years or what was that he said that I'm gonna, that you wanted to use that, Rad? on the show. I know that. I think
Well,
it's
actually, the hadith say its semen is in a womb for 40 days or
40
40
days. Okay. So, but again, here, the only one that really you could say that, yeah, you created man from a sperm drop, and that's the way men are created. You could reconcile that one with maybe congealed blood, but you're not going to get sounding clay. You're not going to get dust, and most certainly you're not going to get nothing. So the question becomes is which one is it? Because you have 5 separate things there that man's made out of: congealed blood, sounding clay, dust, nothing. Well, actually, you can't even say nothing is something because it is nothing. Nothing means nothing is quantifiably zero.
You're missing one.
Which one?
I think there's a verse that says we're created from water.
Is there? Okay, I may have missed it. Can you Google that for me and see? And bring it up.
I know there's a verse that says of every living organism we created from water. But I think there's one that also says that man was created. I'll go take a look at it.
Okay, thanks. Okay, so here you have, what is this, contradiction? Let me see here. This is, what is he created from? What do people in hell eat? What did Pharaoh's sheep say? And can anyone bear a burden? So we have 4 contradictions here already. And I haven't even got started. Let's see. What does Dominic say? As you would have blood and sperm as they are derived from the human body. So that is a problem, as you would need a living human to get those things from. That's a great point. If God indeed made man from nothing, or let's say non-life, and you could say that God made man from the dust of the ground, or you could say God made man from sounding clay. But if you say you made him from sperm, you have to get that sperm from someplace, which would something biological, and that has to deal with human beings. So there you go. And then congealed blood. What is this, like cow's blood, or God forbid pig's blood, or what type of blood are we talking about?
But we know.
We're getting to this, Rob. Give me a second. We're getting to that one, Rob. Go ahead, Rod. I'm sorry.
Oh, well, you call me. I thought you were calling me Rob. I was going to say, what'd you call me?
No.
Split me. No. But we learned from the great Imam of Texas that sperm that you're just a walking, talking giant sperm. So there you have it. It's genius.
Yeah. Now, I remember hearing him say this at one time.
Play the video.
I don't have. Do I have it?
I'll send it to you.
Okay.
Oh.
What do you have, like a library of these things cataloged on your computer or something?
Pretty much, yeah.
Okay, you need to send it to me. Okay, yeah, exactly. It's probably the water from the Zamzam. That's exactly. All right. So here we go. Is there not compulsion in religion according to the Quran? Can you compel somebody to believe something? Well, it says in chapter 2, verse 256, let there be no compulsion in religion. Truth stands out clear from error. Oh, I've heard that before. But then it goes on to say in chapter 9, verse 3, an announcement from Allah and his messenger to the people on the day of the great pilgrimage, and Allah and his messenger dissolve treaty obligations with the pagan. And if you repent, it is best for you. But if ye turn away, you know that ye cannot frustrate Allah and proclaim a grievous penalty those who reject faith. Okay, so can you compel somebody if they have it? If the grievous penalty is to reject faith? But then you go to the very famous one, 9:5. Fight and slay the pagans wherever you find them, seize them, beleaguer them, and lie in wait for them in every stratagem of war. But if they repent, it sounds to me that there's a little compulsion here, because if they don't repent and establish regular prayers, then what are you supposed to do? You're supposed to fight and slay them. You're supposed to seize them. You're supposed to lie in wait for them. That sounds a little compulsive to me, or compelling to me, like you're going to compel somebody. But then again, you got 9:21 or 9:29. This is the ultimate one. Fight those who do not what? Believe in Allah, nor acknowledge the truth, even if they are Christians, until when they pay the jizya with willing submission and feel themselves subdued. So if you are not believing in Muhammad as the last messenger of Allah, then you're to be fought. I mean, this is the main verse that over 43,000. Hold on just a second. Sorry. That's over 43,000 attacks have been committed in the name of Islam since 9/11, 2001. And this is the verse that is most often cited. Fight those who do not believe in the last day, believe in Allah. So if you don't believe in Allah, what are you supposed to do? You're supposed to fight them. That sounds like you're compelling somebody to believe in your religion. So if you're to say, let there be no compulsion in religion, then why are you fighting and slaying people? Because, and also keep in mind, it says zero here about fighting those people unless only when you're attacked. It does not say that. And the whole history of the Islamic conquest is littered with people not attacking Muslims, but Muslims attacking them. So don't give us this garbage that you're only supposed to fight when you yourself are attacked, because it's simply not true. In history, if it is true, then why do you have so many thousands of people going out and doing the opposite of what you're proclaiming? It seems to me, instead of telling us Christians or people who get on YouTube and do live streams like this, what it really says, it seems to me that you would be better focused going out and telling your co-religionists what the true meaning of these verses, say. Okay, so what is the next one we're going to get to? The first Muslim. Yes, here we go, Rob K. Let's see here. Oh, this is a great point. Yeah, because this is the last verse of the Quran, or supposedly revealed verse of the Quran, and it is supposed to abrogate everything in the Quran was been abrogated by Surah 9. Exactly right, Rob. Exactly right. Spot on. Okay, who was the first Muslim? Was it Muhammad? Was it Abraham? Was it Jacob? Was it Moses? Was it Jesus?
I'm going to go with Darfur for 500 errors. Darfur, okay. The donkey, wasn't it? Was donkey? Darfur is the first Muslim.
I don't know.
Yeah.
Okay, so
Rob knows. I know Rob knows. Darfur, the donkey, was the first Muslim.
The what was the first Muslim?
His name is Darfur. He's a donkey.
Yeah.
Darfur, yes. Darfur the donkey. Muhammad converted a donkey to Islam. That was the first Muslim. You didn't know that?
No, I didn't know that. I didn't know donkeys could become Muslims.
And Darfur was gay.
Was he gay? I don't know if he was gay.
Well, according to the movie, he didn't like girls.
Well, when it comes to donkey Muslims, I don't ask and don't tell. So, yeah.
Okay, Clinton. All right.
What's up, Ed?
All right. So, hey, Ed's in the house. It's good to see you, brother.
Good to see you all.
Yeah, I'm all sunburned from last week. Had a great week.
That's great.
All right. So the first Muslim was, according to this verse, was Muhammad. I am commanded to be the first of those who bow to Allah in Islam. However,
wait a minute, Eric. I'm going to have to correct you.
All right.
Muhammad was not the first Muslim because he's not in that verse.
Oh, that's true. This is true. We're assuming
an unknown person was the first Muslim, but we don't know who they are.
Okay, so evidently you've heard this argument before.
Oh, come on.
Yeah. Okay. So it doesn't, but it implies Muhammad. Am I correct on that?
Yeah. Well, I mean, everything implies Muhammad in the Quran.
Okay, but if you're using the context of this verse is Muhammad 39:12.
Let me see.
I'm going to pull it up. Corpus Quran, chapter 39, verse 11, 39. 39:12. 39:12 says, survey says, and I have been commanded to fight to be the first among you of Muslims. Okay, no, if you go to 11, it says, say, O Muhammad, but O Muhammad is in brackets also. Indeed, I have been commanded to worship Allah. So, if this is the Quran, it's saying, say, O Muhammad. Say, he's telling who to say? Muhammad. So this implies Muhammad, directly implies Muhammad, and how they try to. And I get it. I understand why they want to get away from it, because of course it clearly demonstrates a contradiction. So who else would this apply to? Would this apply to that donkey that you guys were talking about, or was this apply to Abraham, or does this apply to I don't know, Nimrod from the Tower of Babel? You pick your character, biblical character, but it clearly, the context indicates that it is Muhammad. What were we going to say? Kufar phobia.
No, I was going to say, well, see, that presents a problem for Muslims, because throughout the Quran, like, for example, chapter 6, 114, it says, this is other than Allah I seek as judge, while he is the one who revealed to you the book explained in detail. Chapter 11:1 says it's a book. The verses are perfected, and moreover, they are explained in detail. Yeah. So where's the detail in that verse? Because the reader has to assume that it's Muhammad.
Well, it gets worse though, man, because it doesn't qualify it doesn't qualify it. So, there's no qualifier at all.
So let me ask you, Eric, if you didn't know anything about religion, right? You don't know what the hell Islam was, and somebody gave you that Quran and you're reading, would you know who that verse is about?
Would I know what it's about?
Yeah.
If I'm reading it in context. Well, no, I guess you're right, because you would have to have some background. Right, exactly. Because Muhammad is only mentioned, 4 times in the entire books. Right, yeah. So it would be hard to discern that based on that alone. This is true. Okay.
Yeah, and that was the whole premise behind my series with Paul, is we were assuming that as a reader, we didn't know anything about Christianity, Judaism. We didn't know the Bible existed. We were just reading it like, we went to the bookstore, picked up a book, or somebody gave it to us. Would we be able to understand it? Would we have questions that the Quran gave answers? And it's basically the Quran. I think toilet paper's got more uses.
The only one that could be the first of Muslims in order would be Moses. And there's a, I'm trying to remember which verse it was. It said it was Moses, and then there was, of course, I could be wrong about that too, because it also says some Egyptians, but Moses was raised by Egyptians, but he was really Hebrew, right? So there's really no nothing set in stone that they can actually pull from that says who the real first Muslim is. But we all know it's Muhammad, right?
Well, it's supposed to, and here again, this is if you accept the standard Islamic narrative, the sin, that Muhammad was an actual person, and this is an actual. There's all kind of assumptions there, and I absolutely agree, and I get it. But we're going with just the Quran, and at the Quran, you go to chapter 7, verse 143. It says, "I am the first to believe." And who's saying this? Moses. When Moses came to the place and appointed by us, and and when he recovered his senses, he said, "Glory to thee, I turn in repentance, and I am the first to believe." Now, wait a second. It says up here, I am commanded to be the first of those who bow to Allah in Islam. But down here, Moses is saying he already believes in Allah. So who's the first Muslim? Well, it gets worse. And it says down here, Abraham left his sons, and so did Jacob. "O my sons, Allah hath chosen the faith for you, then die not except in the faith of Islam." So if Abraham is a Muslim, and if Jacob is a Muslim, and Abraham's sons are Muslims, how can Muhammad be the first of those to bow to Allah in Islam? Or how can Moses, who comes 400 years after Jacob, did? So, this again, here you have a clear contradiction. When you put these verses, juxtapose these verses right next to each other, you can clearly see that he forgot what he was saying. He forget, and this is what you get from somebody who's obviously making it up as they go.
And brother, it's not contradiction; it's Qurantradictions.
Qurantradictions. Ergo, the title of the show, Qurantradictions. There's all kinds of contradictions within.
Yeah, which is why Muslims feel they have to explain for Allah because Allah can't explain it clearly.
And that's what you get. You're absolutely right. That's what you get. Well, what that really means is if you go back to the original Arabic and and this is what it really means. This is what they have to give you their version based on what? Well, it's usually based on their westernized opinions of what it says, number one. But number two, you have to explain in detail a book that claims to explain everything in detail. So how does that work out? And then when you run into things like this that show a clear contradiction, how do you explain that? How do you explain that away? Well, then you have to go back. You have to, and this is what we always do. Well, do you know Arabic? And this is where you get in the argument. And I've been in Clubhouse long enough and enough times to know how this goes. This is the way it normally goes. Well, do you speak Arabic? Or you don't understand the Arabic, and you're trying to tell me what, even if you did a transliteration and you go to corpus.quran where it gives you the words, the Arabic words and how they're worded in the manuscripts, and you do a transliteration and you can show them clearly that it's contradicting each other. It's still that you have to know how to speak Arabic in order to, you can't pronounce that word.
So then they destroy themselves because Allah can't communicate to everybody. He can only do it in Arabic, and it's not explained in detail.
Yeah, and why? And again, and this is another great spinoff from that statement. Why are you if you can only understand the religion completely in the supposed original language, Arabic, which was an archaic language at the time of Muhammad? Oh, by the way, how can that be so? I mean, the God of the universe is going to reveal his final message in an archaic, undeveloped language that hasn't even completely developed its writing style yet. It makes absolutely zero sense.
Yep. Especially when we find out that looking at things in a different light, the the ones that they found that were actually in oh man, I forget where they were stashed, but it looked like it was a church or something that was buried underground.
The Sana manuscript, is that what you're talking about?
Well, that's one of them. There was another one, but there were no dottings on anything. So it was a Syriac language, and it turns out without the dottings and vowelings,
right,
they're hymns. They're gospel hymns.
Yeah, that's, hold on. Hold on just a sec. Wait a minute. I got it right here. It is, here we go. Right here. Is this the one you're talking about?
Yes, that's the one.
Okay, yeah. This is true. And that's what, who is that? Günter Lüning. Lüning is the one that developed that. Yeah.
And there's another one by Gabriel Sama that I have that talks about all that too. It's the Quran misinterpreted, mistranslated, and misread. That
one right there.
Hold on, I've never heard of this. I've never heard of this. So you're telling me that undotted, unvowel pointed, whatever Arabic of the Quran is psalms or hymns?
In Aramaic, right? The diacritical marks. Keep in mind the diacritical marks, the dots and the lines above and below the script, the letters. I believe there's originally only 18 Arabic letters originally, and when it was supposedly originally transcribed. And what this Gunter Luling has done is he's gone back and he's fluent in Aramaic, and they have found much of the Quran was Christian hymns written in Aramaic, and then as time goes by and translated into the Arabic or developed into the Arabic, they determined that these were the original sources for the Quran. And this is why you have so many.
Okay, hold on, stop. I honestly don't know how I feel about that. Seriously, I don't know if it's true or not. But think about this. Wait a second. Full stop here. Think about this. You are telling me that Christian hymns or gospel hymns or Psalms of the Old Testament could somehow, without diacritical marking, be so perverse and tortured and twisted to come up with something so vile as the Quran. I'm sorry, I just have a real problem with that on the one hand, but on the other hand, I can see that the perfect way that Satan would use that because he would corrupt, and that's what he would do. He would. I mean, look at what you're having with the rainbow flag. Okay, the rainbow says that God will not destroy the earth again by water, because of the abomination of man, the sexual immorality of man. Well, they now turn that into a pride thing. So, okay, so on the other hand, I can see that. But I mean, seriously though, that is just profound. I mean, to come up with something so vile, so profane, and so corrupt as a crime out of Christian hymns or songs out of the Old Testament. I mean, it's just vile and repulsive.
Yeah, well, here's just one.
You know what I mean?
If you go to Surah 74, 1 through 30, this is supposed to be from a fragment they have found of a hymn to Christ, breaking off at Christ. This is beyond page 430 of this book here. And to be honest with you, a lot of this is parsing out the Aramaic and the Arabic languages, and it's hard to follow unless you speak Arabic and Aramaic. But his argument is that much of the Quran was developed from Aramaic hymns, Christian hymns, and then once it was translated over into the Arabic, then it becomes a Quran, something that Muhammad used. But here again, this attacks the standard Islamic narrative that Muhammad is the one that provided the Quran, where in fact this is the Quran developed over a period of time. This is why in the Sana manuscript, this is why I brought up the Sana manuscript when we were talking earlier. The Sana manuscript predates the Quran, predates the timeline. If you go back and you do the look at the carbon-14 testing that's been done on it, sure, there are some carbon-14 tests that have been done on it that are consistent with what might be a pre-Uthmanic period. And think about that. If Uthman got all of the Qurans together and came up with this one Uthmanic recension and destroyed all the other copies, then this doesn't make any sense. The Sana doesn't make any sense if you follow the carbon-14 dating. But if you look at the other dates for the Sana manuscript, and this is the important part, they predate Islam by 2 centuries. Think about that. You have the carbon-14 dating of the Sana manuscript has dates that go back into the 4th and 5th centuries.
Yeah, and you can't date the ink, right?
No, nobody that does carbon dating would include the ink. They would just use the parchment. That's what you're dating. You're dating the parchment.
Right.
You're dating with the material that it was, because that is the only part of it that would contain carbon-14, or you can get a consistent amount of carbon-14. So they're not dating the ink. They're dating the parchment itself. So
which is why you can't date the ink.
No, because the ink itself is just an amalgamation of chemicals. You can't get a clear date from that because some of those chemicals are organic and some of them are not. So you're not going to be able to date
Muslims try to tell you that they can date the ink. So
you would have to show me how they do that. And because I studied the creation evolution controversy, or quite extensively. Oh, by the way, the lesson tonight at Vacation Bible School is the 6 days of creation. 6 literal days of creation, Rad, is one that I'm going to be presenting all these minds of mush. Anyway.
Oh, you heretics.
I get a government paycheck to do it too. Go figure. That was the argument. This guy gets paid by the government. He says these things. He can't say that. He can't do that. Shut up. Okay.
Yeah, I know. No, that's right. He's a government teacher. Government. You work for the government.
Yeah. How can
Well, actually, yeah, I do fault it. Yeah, I do fault it. You work for the government. Just saying.
Yeah.
Indoctrinating, brainwashing our children.
Yeah. Can't have it. All right, so let's go on to the next one. We got plenty of time. Okay, does Allah forgive or not forgive those who worship false gods? Well, in the Quran, in chapter 4, verse 48, it says, Allah forgiveth not the partners should be set up with him. So if you worship Jesus Christ, and this is what, let's face it, this is what they're saying. If you associate partners with exactly, Dominic. You the man. Anyway, if you associate partners with Allah, he cannot forgive you. But he forgiveth anything else. So the only thing he can't forgive is those people who associate partners. But he goes on to say, the people of the book asked to cause. Okay, let's see. Yet they worshipped the calf even after clear signs had come to them. Even so, we forgave them. So they worshipped the calf. Now, when you worship the calf, are you not associating partners with Allah? In the quick
And
answer,
who's we?
Yeah, who's got a mouse in his pocket? Yeah, there you go. Who's the we here? We? I thought Allah was. I mean, Islam is Tawheed, where you have. Creation days is another contradiction. Yeah,
Islam is Tawheed.
Tawheed. The weed. So again, here you have we saying we forgave them. Well, who's we? What is that? That's not the royal we. The royal we, of course, was not developed until the 14th century. Yeah,
right.
And
I always tell Muslims, please stop smoking Tawheed.
Tawheed, yes. Although it's starting to get legal in most states, it's and the sermon this morning, we had a sermon. The guy that we voted in to be pastor, he came in and gave this sermon this morning. It was absolutely fabulous, and it was on the book of Philemon. And Philemon's only 25 verses. And one of the things that he brought up is that okay, one of the things as Christians we should we should follow the laws of the land, right? We should only that's we should not be in rebellion against the land in which we live. Well, when you include hey Steve, it's good to see you, brother. When you include the laws of the land no longer banning or saying that marijuana is illegal, now what do you say to your Christian brother and says, look, I'm following the laws of the land. The laws of the land say now I can legally possess and smoke marijuana. But that's not the issue. The issue is whether or not this is something that Christ would approve of. And that's what we have to evaluate ourselves. So I'm just making that point that it was just an absolutely fabulous sermon. So I'm so glad that everybody voted the man in. Okay, so again, does Allah forgive those who associate partners? And according to 448, not so much. However, you go down to 153 in the same chapter. Well, yes, he's going to forgive them. So again, another contradiction from a clear Quran. Okay.
Contradiction.
Another contradiction. So let's go to, are Allah's decrees changed or not? Can Allah change his decrees? Well, let's take a look. Chapter 6, verse 34. Rejected were the messengers before thee. With patience and constancy, they bore their rejection and their wrongs until our aid did reach them. There is none that can alter the words of Allah. None. Nobody can change his decrees because it says and decrees. All right. Now you get down to chapter 6, verse 115. The word of the Lord doth find its fulfillment in truth and in justice. None can change his words, for he is the one who heareth and knoweth all. None of our Revelations 2, chapter 2, verse 106, do we abrogate or cause to be forgotten, but we substitute something better or similar. Does that sound like you can change Allah's words? But we substitute something better. It sounds to me that his words are being changed here. I don't know. Then you go to verse 16, 101. It says, when we substitute one revelation for another. So none can change his words. None can change his words. However, we do abrogate those words that you cannot change, and we can substitute one revelation for another.
So Allah can't make up his mind.
It sounds to me like he's confused. It sounds to me, well, I'm not going to go there, but it sounds to me that this mythical character called Allah, can't make up. You're absolutely right. He can't make up his mind what it is. Either you can change his words or you can't. But here's this amazing part about this: the Bible, the Old and New Testament. You know, the text that is with them, 157 type stuff. Okay, is said to be the words of Allah. However, one of the biggest arguments today, when you start discussing Christianity with Muslims, is to say, well, the Bible's been corrupted. How can we possibly trust it? Now, wait a second. In your book, the Quran, it says that you cannot change the words of Allah. Allah cannot change his words, but yet what you're saying is that somebody's come along now and has changed his words, has corrupted his words. The same Bible that you say that we will find Muhammad, or you prophesies of in those Bibles, Deuteronomy 18:18, Psalm of Solomon 5:16, or was it Isaiah 29:12, Isaiah 42, all these, the Gospel of John, all 14, 16, and 17. You know, that's all been corrupted, but Allah's word cannot be changed.
Well, you know what that means?
Go ahead.
Allah is the best of abrogators.
It's the best of, because it's supposed to be the best of deceivers, but they say it's not deceivers. It's supposed to be, what's the word? The word that is used now? Planners? Is that planners?
Yeah.
Yeah, but now he's an abrogator. Yeah, exactly. He's the best of abrogators. You can't change my words, but unless I change them. And there you go. It makes zero sense. Clear contradiction. Qurantradictions. Sorry, Ed. Make sure I get the verbiage correct on this one. All right, what do we got next? Oh, here's one. Here's a fun one. Pharaoh, one of the favorite characters and villains of the Quran, is the Pharaoh. Now, keep in mind, in the Quran, we also find with the Pharaoh a gentleman from Persia. 600 years later? No. Because the Persian Empire would have been 5th, 6th century. So this would have been about 1,000 years later. We find this Persian character by the name of Haman from the book of Esther. You guys remember Haman? Am I correct? Am I pronouncing his name right? Haman. Of course I'm pronouncing it Haman. He's the villain in the book of Esther. But we also find him serving in Pharaoh's court at the time of Moses, which is about 1450, 1500 BC. Again, here you have, that's one of those many anachronisms here. But okay, so Pharaoh is leading his army out there to catch Moses and the Israelites, the Jews whom they have freed. And we find here in chapter 10, verses 90 through 92. Let's see here. We took the children of Israel across the sea. Pharaoh and his host followed them in insolence and spite. At length, when overwhelmed with the flood, he said, I believe there is no God except whom the children of Israel believe in, and I am those who submit to Allah in Islam. It was said to him, now, but a little while before, wast thou, this is just penance reading this crap. I'm sorry. Wast thou in rebellion, and thou did mischief and violence? This day we will save thee in the body, that thou mayest be a sign of those who come after thee. But verily many among mankind are heedless at our signs. So here, if I'm correct on this, and somebody here correct me if I'm wrong, they're saying that, what are you doing, Kufar? What is this?
That cute.
Okay,
I'm still having a problem with the Elizabethan English. I'm sorry. Where'd that come from?
Yeah, it says we took the children of Israel. Yeah, okay. Again, this is what he's saying here. We took the children of Israel across the sea. Okay, we meaning Allah. Okay, so in this verse, does Pharaoh live or does he die? It appears that he lives. This day we will save thee in the body, that thou mayest be a sign to those who come after thee. However, in chapter 17, verses 102 and 103, it says, Moses said, Thou knowest well that things have been sent down by none but the Lord of the heavens. Can you guys talk amongst yourself? I got an important call I got to take here. Hold on just a second.
Well, I just want to add really quickly here. No, it's a Quranic miracle because they found a pharaoh's mummy and it's perfectly preserved because it's a mummy. So therefore, this proves the Quran correct because he did not die in his body. You see?
Well, you see,
You
the problem is you guys don't understand Arabic because when Allah says that he lived, it doesn't mean like he lived, like, you know, he stayed alive. No, he lived as a preserved mummy. I mean, he still died, but he lived so people could see his body. See, you kafirs,
Allah Akbar.
you don't understand. Yes, Allahu Akbar. As
Yes, Allah. Allah is the mouse.
That's right. And you got to do what the Muslims do. You got to say Allah, Allahu Alam. Allah knows best. Do not deny Allah. So what happened to? It sounded like somebody was breaking into the nuclear bunker.
Cave. Yeah, dude. I thought that was. I thought that was me because I'm actually cooking a perfectly hollow pork roast. It's hollow from Allah. And I got the meter probe in there, and that's my sound when it's done. It's I'm like, no, it can't be done. I mean, I just put it in. I'm like, oh crap, it can't be done.
Could you imagine if your smoke detector at the house sounded like that? My poor dog would have.
Oh God, you know the smoke detectors. I got them in the house, but the damn battery runs out, and I never replace them. So they're completely useless. I know. I'm gonna burn out.
That's why you need 110. That's why you need 110 smoke detectors in your house with battery backups.
I figure if the damn smoke ain't gonna wake me up or the heat of the fire ain't gonna wake me up, I mean, then what's the point at that point? You know what I mean?
Well, if the smoke detector will wake you up, though, that's the point.
Well, I'm just saying if the smoke from the fire don't wake me up or the heat from the, I don't know.
No. Yeah, because the smoke from the fire will actually put you to sleep.
Oh, I mean, at this point in time,
permanent
at
sleep.
this point in time, I'm like, you know, okay, we can go either way with it. I'm just saying.
Yeah, you're like
I mean,
me,
this crazy world, man. I'm sorry. I mean, okay. So, did you guys follow what happened in Russia? That is some crazy crap.
Yeah, I think that's just. I think that's just a game that we're being fooled. I don't think anybody's doing the coup.
That's the common conspiracy theory on stuff, but I think it's just more simpler than that. I think honestly, this dude got pissed and decided to go on a rampage, and he took over one garrison to get ammunition because they were not giving him ammunition or any weapon or any ammunition or anything. He took the garrison without any problem, and then decided, well, screw this, I'm marching on Moscow. And then Putin, if he was Putin in power, would have totally crushed and destroyed him. I mean, every one of them idiots would have been killed. Not only that, but their families, if they lived in Russia, would have been in gulag. You know what I mean? For the rest of their lives. That's Putin back in the day. But now we back down, and I'm like, that means that Putin isn't as powerful as he was. You know what I mean? So there's something goofy going on with that. And I think that's a simpler explanation, the more scary explanation. You know what I mean?
I don't believe anything the news says, man. I don't believe a word that our media says at all. Period.
Yeah, I agree with you. I agree with you on that. That's why I get all my news from Twitter. But no, seriously, you remember Vlad from Foul Talk? I chat with him every once in a while on Foul Talk. He's a big Putin supporter, big Russian supporter. And even he was like, I'm like, dude, is this real? He's like, I have no idea. And he checks and he's like, yeah, it's real. The dude's crazy. He's insane. This is a total suicide thing. And then when it was like over with, I guess he's like, yeah, this doesn't make any sense, dude. This ain't right. and then I haven't heard from him since. Yeah.
Well, here's the funny thing. While the government knew that those people in the submarine had already imploded and died, right?
Oh yeah, yeah,
They,
bastards.
they kept people thinking that they were still alive, and to me, that was just a distraction from the two-tier justice system, because basically Hunter just got a little slap on the hand. Don't do that again.
Oh yeah, not
Yeah,
only
there's
that, but the release of the information of the whistleblowers and the text message. I'm sitting with my father. He wants to know why you haven't sent us our money. And if you don't send us the money, I guarantee you the man sitting next to me, my father, will punish you. I mean, yeah, right. Okay. Anyway, Eric, everything okay, Eric?
Yeah, everything's good. That was a call about our pastor and our new pastor. This was. I thought it was kind of an emergency, but it really wasn't. But anyway, okay.
I thought it
So
was a nuclear attack on your area.
You know what was really interesting about that? I'm sorry.
No, go ahead.
I was going to say what was really interesting about that whole submarine thing.
Oh, is that what you guys talking about? Okay.
Is that the two people, the father and son that died in that? You know they were Muslim, right? And you know they took the places of two Christian guys, right?
Oh yeah, I heard that. Yeah, they were Dawood something. Yeah, they were definitely
I
Muslim.
did not know that.
They were
Yeah, the two
Muslims.
Christian-
Yes.
The two Christian guys were like, yeah, this is stupid. We ain't doing this. We're not getting out of this death contraption.
Exactly.
So what's going on with this that you guys I missed it? Just give me a.
They knew the U.S. Navy knew within 4 hours and even reported it up the chain of command that the sub had imploded.
I'd heard that. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, but they allowed this search to continue. When they knew it was a recovery mission after this point, they allowed the search to continue and allowed these families to continue that there was hope that they could still be alive with 96 hours of oxygen. And then as soon as it was time up, 96 hours of oxygen, all of a sudden, oh, guess what? By the way, we heard the sub imploded and we've known where it was all along. And here's the wreckage. You know what I mean? I mean, that's just disgraceful, disgusting. You know what they did?
I think there was one of the articles that I read on that said that they were just trying to distract from the what's the word I'm looking for? All the things that were going on with Biden in this bribery stuff. You know, you can only keep something like that off the front page for so long. It's eventually going to come out.
Well, that's why if you see my meme on Facebook where I got Jean-Claude Van Damme or whatever her name is, the most experienced historical figure because she's a black lesbian for press secretary, it's like it's saying, "Oh, Master Joe, they keep asking me about Hunter," and Joe's on the phone. He's like, "Send in the Ukrainians" or something like that. I forgot what it was.
Ukrainians.
Oh no, it was like, "Hey, Yev, can you do that thing I paid you $6 billion for?" Anyway. Well, let's get back to your problem.
Let's go back to the number of days of creation. Let's see here. Let's go back to this. Okay, so how many days did it take to create the heavens and the earth? Well, according to the Quran, it took 6 days. Chapter 7, verse 54. According to the Quran, 10:3, it took 6 days. According to the Quran, chapter 11, verse 7, it took 6 days. According to the Quran, 25:29, it took 6 days. Pretty good, because according to the Bible, how many days did it take to create the heavens and the earth? 6 days. Exodus 20:11, God created the heavens and earth and all that was in them in 6 days, and he rested on the seventh day. Therefore, you should work 6 days and rest 7 days. However, chapter 41, verse 9 says that he created the earth in 2 days. And then over here in chapter 41, verse 10, he said on the earth mountains standing firm and measured therein all things to give them nourishment, due portion in 4 days. So he creates in 2 days, he creates in 4 days, and he creates in 6 days. How many days did it take Allah to create the heavens and the earth?
Allah doesn't want you to
Wait
know.
a minute.
Now you didn't read that right, Eric.
You didn't read it all right
the 2
because
days
actually it was 8
include the other
days.
4 days. So it's 2 days to create the earth, and then 2 days to put everything in it. It's 4 days. You got to get it right, bro.
Oh, sorry. Okay. Measure their earth and give them.
Yeah, it's 8 days altogether.
That's their excuse that they gave me, is that the 2 days, that the 4 days includes the first 2 days. I'm like, where?
Right. Okay. So the bottom line is that it is a contradiction.
Yeah.
Because it says 6 days, 6 days, 6 days, 6 days, 2 days, 4 days, and then the 2 days. 2 plus 4 is 6. No. And what you're saying is that these 2 days are included in these 4 days down here.
Yeah, that's what they
Right.
say, which is,
Okay.
which is garbage.
You know
That's
what?
what they try to say, but they can't get past it because
Yeah.
they're busted.
You know what? Here's the real funny thing. I think this would have been a better contradiction for Avery to use than what he used. Because, well, his contradiction was good, don't get me wrong. But I'm saying on this one, it is so ambiguous, and there are definite different things. There is no way, I mean, you would, because, well, okay, so he was debating, I won't mention his name, but he's debating that who's now in his latest iteration of religion is now a Quran only Muslim, right? Okay, so the Quran only Muslim, I mean, I've heard Sunni and Shia Muslims explain this, but they have to go to Hadith, and they don't explain it very good. But I'm just saying they have to use the Hadith to give their wacky explanation, right? What I'm saying is this: the Quran only Muslim cannot explain this. You know what I mean? I mean, can't even attempt to explain this. Can't even make an effort to explain this. Do you see what I'm saying? I mean, so the Quran only Muslim is screwed royally, okay? Because there is no way you can explain this contradiction without going to Hadith or Tafsir. There's absolutely no way. Unless you're going to make your own Hadith and Tafsir and explain it, in which case, then you are just like the Prophet. You know what I mean? Anyway, that's all I'm saying.
And again, this is where if you try to, you're exactly right. So if you try to explain a lot of these things that appear to be contradictions without going to the Hadith, because the Hadith is meant to clear a lot of this stuff up. If you look at some of the Hadith that, for example, Mary being being the sister of Aaron, which would make her the sister of Moses also, and also the mother of Jesus. Well, that's a 1,500-year error. So you have to go to the Hadith in order to clear that up. How can that possibly be? How can Mary, the mother of Jesus, be the same Miriam, which would be the sister of Aaron and Moses? How can that be? It can't be. So you have to go to the Hadith to learn that this is just the way that they referred to, that's the rescuing device they come up with. This is just the way that referred to women back then, which isn't true, but this is what they have to come up with.
Now, Eric, there's a problem that I don't think most people have noticed. Let's say that it doesn't say 6 days for the earth, right? Let's go with the 4 and then the 2 for the heavens. That's 6 days, right? So it would match the other 3. Now, am I supposed to believe that Allah took 4 days to create the earth, but only 2 days to create the rest of the universe? How does that make sense? The little old earth, which is 1.2 million times smaller than the sun, and all the other planets, all the other stars, all the other galaxies, he took 4 days to do the earth.
Kufar, you don't understand, man. All he has to do is say be. Right?
Oh, so he said be, but wait a minute. So why did it still take 2 days?
Yeah, exactly. And nowhere in the Quran do we ever see him actually doing that.
No.
Again, let me just reiterate this. Again, you have a contradiction because in one part of the Quran it says it takes 6 days, and the other part it says 4. Or if you just want to go with 2, it does not make any sense unless you try to do the fuzzy math for the inventors of algebra. Because here it makes perfect example. Let's look at this. This is how this all works out. In Quran chapter 8 verse 65, it says, if there be of you 20 steadfast, they shall overcome 200, and if there be you 100 steadfast, they shall overcome 1,000. So it looks to me like you have a 10-fold increase of people who are steadfast in the phrase, who can overcome those who are not, or those who disbelieve. Would you guys agree with me that that's what that's saying? You would have 20, 10 times 20 is 200, 10 times 100 is 1,000. Would you agree?
Yeah, it's a 10-to-1 ratio. Yeah.
Okay, 10-to-1 ratio. Very good.
We all know Muslims can't do math. Come on, they actually think that.
No, they
You know-
invented algebra now. I thought, isn't that what we're told? That they invented algebra?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's what we're told, but that's not what happened. But
Okay. Okay, so let's look in Quran, chapter 8, the very next verse. It says, so if there be among you steadfast 100, they shall overcome 200. Whoa. Wait a second. If there be 100, they shall overcome 1,000. But no, it says 100, they can only overcome 200. And 1,000, they can overcome 2,000. So you have a tenfold increase, but here you only have a twofold increase. But just set that aside. This is one verse after it. And it says, if you have 100 that are steadfast, if you have 100 that are steadfast, or they shall overcome, or you either be steadfast, 100 shall overcome 200. 100, 1,000. So which one is it? Again, something that is clearly a contradiction. Or am I missing something on this?
Hey, what translation are you using? Because you missed a very important part. Because the verse starts, now has lightened Allah for you, and he knows that in you there is weakness. So the only reason that Allah lowered it from 10-to-1 to 2-to-1 was because he knew that there was a weakness. Because they lost the battle, apparently. You know, they got their asses handed to them. But the verse says that it's like Allah didn't know that there was a weakness. He had to wait for them to fight to figure out that there was a weakness. So he basically had people slaughtered in order to come to the conclusion, whoa, you know, I gave these guys the wrong advice. You do not want Allah as your manager on your side.
That's 100% correct. I'm looking through something. I've been corrected on how to spell algebra. So you're absolutely right. I misspelled the word algebra. Okay. I was going to do something here. I had it. No. I'm going to do one more. I got to go. Here it is. Okay. Who takes your soul at death? Who takes your soul at death? Well, according to the Quran, in one verse it says, in 32:11, it says, say the angel of death put in charge of you will take your souls, then shall ye be brought back to your Lord. So when you die, the angel of death will be put in charge of you and will take your soul. So the angel of death is taking your soul. However, over here in chapter 4, verse 27, it says, but how when the angels take their souls at death and smite their faces and their backs? So here you have the angels, you have a singular, the angel of death, but over here you have plural, angels. And I would say that the angel of death is different than the angel, but it gets worse. Because here you can try to reconcile it and say, well, angels, angel of death, angels, same thing. Okay, fine. But here in chapter 39, verses 4, it says, 42, it says, it is Allah that takes the souls of men at death. So you have the angel of death, angels, or Allah. Which one is it? You can clearly see that that's a contradiction. But then again,
or you have a Muslim Trinity.
Oh, yeah, I didn't even think of that. The angel of death. Oh, and the angel. Well, I guess you can say the angels because that would be millions if you believe there's millions of angels. Okay, folks, I know it's kind of a slow show today, but I think we're going to wrap it up there. Does anybody have anything they have to say before I close this out? I got to get down the road. I see the Queen already pulled out. She was going to be working at VBS tonight too, and she's going to beat me there, and I got to get there and I got to set up. Does anybody have anything that they want to add?
Let's go, Brandon, and play the Cold Close.
Okay, let's go, Brandon, and we're going to play the Cold Crows. Anybody else? Issa, I hadn't heard from you the entire show, which is unusual. That's okay. If you're busy, I get it. All right. Well, we're going to go ahead and close it out. God bless everybody. Thank you for coming, and we will see you. We're going to be here next week on the Crossing the Crescent discussion group. See you then.
Advanced student and
And
specialist.
Allah knows
that
best.
the standard narrative has holes. That's what I'm
that the Muslims were rioting against one another. And as much as we don't want to face the fact, the Muslims were lying sometimes. They were fabricating, they were embellishing, and that might be hard to accept, but that is a reality.